Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm Iselia Warren.
And I'm Maddy Grace Weapon.
Sorry, meeting.
And today we will be playing the, sixth portion of Tales of Symphonia for the Nintendo GameCube, etc. Stopping when we switch discs on the GameCube, but it just fades to black and then fades right back in, so it's kind of hard to tell where it is, but it's when you get back to Iselia for the first time for the PlayStation 3 version or PC version. But before we get to all of that hoot and a half, sounds like you guys had a completely uneventful week. Everything good and peachy over there?
All right, let me do my week first. And either can decide how much he wants to share about his while I'm going. It can be 0. I just, throwing that out there. So my week was very, very eventful. Actually, mostly good now that I think about it, but just eventful, right? On last what happened on Friday? Probably nothing happened on Friday. Everything was normal last Friday. Because remember, we record on Thursday, not Friday, so who even fucking knows what happened? Saturday. Let's do the whole week through, one day at a time. Okay, so Saturday. Saturday, I had that picnic that I probably mentioned last week. It was amazing. It was the best thing I've done in a very long time. It made my heart feel like it was going to blow up with happiness. It was so amazing to see some of the people that I love and respect the most in the whole world, a whole bunch of them all in the same place, not wearing masks and hugging and eating food. Lots of speeches were given. Me and some of the people led everyone in song. There was lots of talking. I made a very simple but tasty fruit salad. And other people made delicious things. And it was just, I cannot imagine something that was more what I needed in my life. And it was awesome. And then on Sunday, who knows, probably some shit happened. Skipping past it, don't give a fuck. Monday, I had work. Tuesday, a dear friend of mine came over. A friend that I met on the internet and is also a mutual friend of me and my partner. And she actually lives not too far from here, so she came to visit, which we've been planning on for a while now that she's all vaccinated and stuff. And it was super awesome. Really, really enjoyed seeing her. Really enjoyed having dinner and playing an board game. Just friggin' ruled. Then I go to work and I friggin' injured myself. At work. I don't think it was anything in particular. I think I just, pulled a muscle or tendon, which, we all know what that feels like. Mm-hmm. But I did it real bad.
Ouch.
It hurt really bad, and it got gradually worse and worse over the course of my shift, to the
you
point where
have done that.
I know. I will. Next time I won't.
That's a good plan.
And I even had to tell my boss. I said, "Boss, I don't know how busy today is, but if you can afford to send someone home, please send me home today. It really hurts a lot." And then, I don't know, my boss is kind of weird. Some people just are a little bit weird with the whole talking and the social skills. And sometimes they're your boss, and it's hard because you have to listen to them because they're your boss, but sometimes it's hard to know exactly what's expected of you or what's going on because they're just not very good at making that clear. Mm-hmm. And this is a new job for me, so I don't really know how to deal with I'm injured, right? I don't really know what the expectations are. Also, I haven't made a book yet. I'm not in the union yet, so I always have to be really careful about not doing things wrong, so I don't want to get fired or whatever, right? Whereas once I make union, it's who gives a shit? You can't fire me. I'm exaggerating, but basically, right? Unions are good. So anyway, I end up finishing out the rest of my shift, and then I go home, and I'm this really, every time I move, it hurts. It's restricting my movement. It was my left neck muscle. Ouch. And it went, or again, probably muscle. It had hurt so much, it kind of felt like a pinched nerve. Here's the thing, I don't have a lot of experience with getting injured and stuff, so I don't know, when something hurts, I don't know what it is, Mm-hmm. Oh, what kind of pain is it? I don't know, it just hurts, you bastard.
Yeah, they're always is it a shooting pain or a stabbing pain? I'm well, I've never been stabbed.
It felt to me like a shooting. It felt to me like a shoot. It felt to me like a nerve thing, but from everything I can tell, it wasn't a nerve thing. So I guess it was just a muscle thing, but like I know what muscle things feel like, and it wasn't that. Anyway, whatever. So I go home again, really hurting and feeling like maybe it'll be fine in the morning. I'm just gonna go to bed, wake up, see how it is. I go to bed, which is difficult because of the pain. I wake up and it is not better. In fact, it is significantly worse. I'm basically like bedridden the entire day. It's like everything hurts. Like even like if I'm laying on my back and needed to like shift to laying on my right side or left side just for variety or whatever, it would like hurt to rotate myself. So like I'm like, this sucks. So I'm taking ibuprofen. My partner's got some like extra strength acetaminophen, still like over the counter. I'm not like, taking anything that's not safe, but like extra strength OTC stuff that was really helping, but also made me delirious a little bit and knocked me out, made me sleep. And then we're trying to figure out what kind of pain it is, that way we know whether I should be putting ice on it or heat. And anyway, eventually I had to call my boss and say, I can't come in tonight. I'm sorry. And again, I don't know how that works. It's a new job. I don't know what the expectations are, what the kind of consequences are, but also it's just like, I mean, if you're hurt, you can't come into work, right? So I call him. Luckily, I got to leave a message, which is if you're scared of a difficult phone call, the best thing that can happen is that they don't answer and you leave a message. Way
absolutely.
better. Because then you're opening the door and they have to deal with it. So I looked out there, and then I called my doctor, and then I called my sister-in-law, who isn't like a medical professional, or like isn't like a doctor, but does work for a healthcare company and just knows a lot of stuff, works for the same healthcare company that I have. So she was able, and also she's just a smart person. So she's able to give me some advice and also tell me who to call with my healthcare. And then I freaked out and had an anxiety attack and cried. It was just a rough freaking day. I'll skip to the end so that y'all aren't super worried about me. By the end of the day, by like maybe 10 or 11 p.m., which my shift starts at 11:15 p.m., I was feeling a lot better. It was, the painkillers were working. I felt like my body was healing. It still hurt, but it wasn't terrible. By the time I went to bed, it was like, this hurts, but only just the same way it always hurts. Like if you just like sleep wrong and your bones hurt because you're 29 years old and sometimes your bones just hurt. It was kind of at that level. And then the next morning it did hurt again, but that's just because, again, sleeping or whatever. And by the time I ended up going to my shift last night, I felt 100% fine, just totally normal.
Good.
And also, it wasn't that hard of a shift, so it wasn't overstressing it. I was worried that it was like putting that stress on it at work would re-inflame the problem, but it didn't. So I'm fine now. But Wednesday was really rough, just in pain all day. Also, I had a big to-do list for Wednesday. Like, I had a very big to-do list, and I ended up not being able to do most of it. So then I was feeling really shitty. Sorry, Bernard, I didn't get to do any programming on Wednesday because of that problem. All I did was I manufactured a makeshift standing desk, by which I mean I put a board game box and a big book on top of my my IKEA dresser. And because I found out that standing up was actually the best thing for my neck, because laying down or sitting up just didn't put it in a good position. So I stood up and read, I'm a delegate to the DSA National Convention, and there are 38 resolutions to be debated. We're not going to debate all 38. We're going to debate 10 of them. But anyway, there's 38 of them, and I hadn't read any of them. So I just started with the first one and read them and had a little notebook where I would make notes about each one, whether I thought I supported it, whether I thought I wouldn't support it, who wrote it. So that was just what I did literally the entire day, which was good. I got to be productive, just not the way I wanted to. Anyway, yeah. But now I'm fine. And then today was like ostensibly normal, except my brain was broken the entire day and I couldn't just focus on anything and was just stressed out all day. So anyway, whatever. Tomorrow though is going to be real fun. It's going to be real fun. It's a big long conference, bunch of fun meetings, and I'm going to hang out with friends. So yeah, just real roller coaster of a week.
Wow.
Yeah, sounds like it.
What about you, Eli?
I definitely didn't have to drop an RP partner. No, that didn't happen.
Well, good. That would suck if it did.
Yeah.
Well, you see the thing about implosions?
Think about dropping RP partners.
If I wasn't laughing, I'd be crying. Look,
Communication is key.
Communication is key.
And some people aren't very good at it.
No. This person, not good at it. It got, I tried to have a rational conversation with them about, these are problems that we have, and these are ways that they're going to be fixed, or we're going to stop RPing together. And it went so far south. In ways I had mildly worried about, but I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm flattering myself. This person admitted to having out-of-character feelings for me, and I went, nope!
Oh, no.
I pushed the brakes on that so fucking hard, and I was like, we are not RPing together anymore. I'm not doing this. And they did not make it easy on me. They could not take no for an answer. And I told them no, half a dozen times, including saying, we've had talks about consent before. I do not consent to this. And I'm not okay continuing to RP a romantic relationship with you if you're having feelings for me that I do not reciprocate. It makes me incredibly uncomfortable. I'm not interested in this person out of character at all. We have very little in common. They kind of annoy me. That's really mean. But they're a very lonely person and very emotionally and socially stunted. And I feel for them because I was there before. But I am a 36-year-old man now, and I ain't got time for that shit. I've had too many bad experiences where an RP partner told me that they had feelings for me out of character, and it went south real fast.
Yeah.
And so, as soon as they said that, I was like, I'm nipping this in the bud. I'm ending it now because I'm not doing this again.
Yeah. It's the age-old, don't shit where you eat. Leave the real romance out of the RP romance. Or talk about it before it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
And communicate so that it can be nipped in the bud while it's still budding. Don't secretly be watering this flower so it is no longer a bud in which it can be nipped.
I had been RPing with this person since September or October, and there was no indication of this. Our characters got married in April. And I knew that he had Anyway, knew that they had a tendency to be clingy. But I had no idea that it was going to be to this extent. It went real bad. And I feel bad, but I needed to do what was best for me.
Hell yeah.
And honestly, I think it was best for them too, because it was just it was not going to get better from there. They kept saying I'm not that kind of person, I'm not going to act on those feelings if you don't reciprocate. And I'm like, no, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you have those feelings, we need to break this off.
Yeah.
Because it's going to become a situation where you already are upset that I'm playing my main character more often than the character that's shipped with yours. And I told you that this was my main character when we got together. So, this is not going to improve from here. It's only going to get worse, and I know that from experience. I've had too many situations, and they don't know me as well out of character as they think they do. Yeah. Not at all. So,
I'm just going to say again what I said last week. What the hell?
I mean, that's what yeah.
So
The
like,
Gordon Cole reaction.
like, this is like what this must be me. This is like what it would be like if me and Sam were like describing like troll romances.
Yeah.
In Homestuck. And Eli's just like, yeah, that was some words.
But
Yeah.
Eli, if you're
I
done
understand
enough, that
the
segues good into
concept
what
and
I
the
was gonna
emotional
talk about.
concepts.
Yeah. What were you saying, Sam?
I said,
If you're done, that segues good into mine, but I can wait if you have
No,
more to talk about.
I'm good. Nothing else happened this week. Just fucking that.
So, speaking of ADHD brains making me have to say this. So in Cleveland show, there's an episode. I don't remember what the setup to the punchline is, but it's like something like incredibly basic, and I can't remember what it is. But Cleveland says something completely outlandish, and Donna, his wife, is like, I don't agree with that. And then Cleveland is like, you and I are very different people, Donna. And that's me while playing Final Fantasy XIV, because I was still wearing the first gear set that they give you for going through the tutorial. And I was like, this is cool and all. It all matches. It's like a fine way to play through the game. But like, I don't feel like a Final Fantasy character. I feel like I'm just a fantasy character. So let me go and look up like some cheap, easy glamours. I almost said transmog because I worked for WoW for a really long time. But some cheap and easy glamours that I can look up, not have to pay any real world money, not have to go grind dungeons, just like some leveling gear that kind of looks good enough to give me a little taste. So I go onto whatever the Final Fantasy XIV like glamour sharing website is, and literally every glamour that these people shared were like sexy pinup Catboy things, and I was like, man, I just kind of wanted to look like a badass. I
just want to look like a cool sword guy.
But you and I are very different. Wow, fuck, I can't even fucking say the joke. God damn it.
Final
Fantasy players.
Yeah.
And I eventually just threw all of that out the window, because I even clicked like, okay, I don't want to see what people share. Show me just the gear sets. And they don't actually have all of the gear sets, because people don't care about the like sword boy ones. No one wants a sword boy. They're like, okay, here's all of the things that are like half naked butler boy. These are the ones that you want. I'm like, no, I want to be like cool looking sword boy. So I just went and found found an item I thought looked cool, found out it was in a set, and kind of grew from there. But it was like, it was surprisingly hard to find something that just looked like a Final Fantasy character, because the only ones people share are all half naked Catboys.
Well, I will have you covered, like we talked about.
Yeah.
I will literally covered.
Yes.
I will take care of your glams.
Thank you.
Because I have an Omni Crafter, and I've also got like 9 million gil on me at the moment. I did have 30 million gil, but then a medium house opened up on Malboro, so now I have 2 medium houses.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, as context shows, I've started playing Final Fantasy XIV again. The PS5 version, it came out, and you have to have an active subscription to get the free upgrade. And I'm like, I don't want to pay for this shit again. So I'll just reactivate my sub, and this will be like my main thing I do for a while. So that's what I've been doing. Just churning through some story content, which, by the way, so everyone says that 2 Point Forever, the stuff in between the base game and the first expansion, is long and boring. And it is, but it's a lot better. It's a lot better ramp into Heavensward from zero than it is a continuation from the high emotional ending of A Realm Reborn to Heavensward. Like, if you suddenly have to stop your momentum, it sucks. But if you stopped your momentum because your game time ran out a year ago, and then you're coming back, it's like chill. Almost feels like a re-tutorial for the game. And so if you're going to play through, I recommend taking a year off between the base game and 2.1. But
nice.
And you're getting to the really good parts that are important for Heaven's Words. So
yeah, I realized that I was getting to something important because I was just like walking around doing some bullshit for some guy, and he's like, "Oh, my caravan was attacked." I'm like, "Sure it was. Let me go and take down some bandits." And then it cut into a voice acted cutscene, and I'm like, Eli, am I to the good part? There's voices on this. My car was attacked by bandits side quest, and I feel that's probably important.
Yeah, you're getting to the good stuff.
Yeah, but let's listen to some music. I have no idea what's even new this week because I played half of this week last week.
The song that plays when, and this might sound like a big spoiler, but it's not. It's a thing for like 5 seconds. The song that plays when I don't even remember what character. It's towards the end. There's a character who attacks, and Colette ends up getting hit, and you think Colette's dead for like 5 seconds, and then she's not. And a new track plays right then. It's really fucking good. For Procystus,
yes,
Colette. There's a new track there. It's really good. It's piano. It starts with like piano.
Yeah,
let's do that.
And then we'll listen to the plot.
Oh yeah.
Maddy, you get to take it away this week.
Yep, I am taking it away this week because I volunteered to step in for Sam because Sam had a lot going on. Turns out it wasn't a great week for me to step in, but I said I would, so I did it. Whatever. But it was fine. So, where we last left our heroes, we were in the middle of a quest to get the 4 MacGuffins. In this case, the MacGuffins were to get all of the summon spirits so that we can break apart these 2 worlds, because we just figured that's probably a good idea. And in the middle of doing that, Colette got kidnapped and whatever. We got to go save her like a million times. And we got Ryards, which allow us to fly. The music sounds like flying music. So our goal is to save Colette. But first, if you're me, we go explore. I wouldn't normally share all my exploring, but guess what? All the cities I'm about to talk about, we go to anyway. So I'll tell you. So I go and explore. First, I find some more of those stones. Let me ride my horse, even though I can fly now. Oh yeah, they fly now. First, I decided to go to the city of Altamira. Altamira is a city that's been mentioned a few times, but we couldn't actually go because despite being an island resort city, they don't have a dock to dock my boat, which seems like a bit of a missed opportunity for an island resort city. Anyway, so I have to land there on my airplane, and Regal won't enter the city. He's like, "Oh, I should stay out here. I can't go in here ever since that day." Right away,
the incident.
So we get in there, and it's basically your typical Costa del Sol type stuff. It's yet another sort of beachside fun times town. It's beautiful. Right away, an NPC tells us there was, quote, an incident 8 years ago in which a bunch of people in the city died. I wonder if Regal had something to do with that. Holy shit, this city is beautiful. Really, really, really good city. Like I said last week, this game's 3D environments are the absolute highlight of the game. People get around there's 3 different little islands, and you gotta travel between the 3 different ones, and they get around via a tram, but the tram's tracks are just below the surface of the water, so it's like you're riding around on. I guess it's the same principle that like a log flume ride at a part, like modern log flume rides that don't actually float, where you're technically on the roller coaster but you're still in the water. It's like that, so it's like a fun little combo of boat and train, which I love that. The whole town is owned by the Lorenzo Company. I know it's not Lorenzo, but here I wrote Lorenzo, who developed it as a resort and amusement park, but we can't go to the park or the company HQ right now. Okay. Other cities. There's the city of Flanoir, or Flanoir, whatever. It's a snowy city. It's all Yarnum and shit. AKA the city from Bloodborne, AKA it just looks like London. It's really cool. I can't say much about it. It's just a beautiful city. It's got all these little alleys and up and down. It's just very up and down, lots of stairs and wrought iron railings and stuff. It's Victorian ass looking London, right? Also super snowy. They mentioned that the reason it's so snowy is because of the snow spirit in the ice caves, and I'm like, are you sure it's not just because you're like, I don't know, in the north? Like, ecology is a thing, right? It's not all just magic spirits. Anyway, there's a side quest. There's a traveler looking for the Celsius tear. It's a flower that can freeze anything, but it's dangerous to touch. It'll burn you. Even whatever. So you need the penguinist gloves. Those are made from penguinist quills, which is the penguinist enemy. Luckily, both the quills and the flower are in the ice caves. Pretty simple little side quest that you can do at some point if you want. I don't. I'm just here to explore. There's also apparently a very popular medical clinic here. It's not important. Everyone's like, oh, the medical clinic. Oh, I'm waiting in line to see the doctor. Also, there's a hot spring on an island somewhere in the world. I came here after getting Colette, even though I probably could have gone earlier, I think. And the priest, the priest there says they were given explicit orders to capture the Chosen, but he's like, I follow Martel, and he's like, I serve Martel and the Chosen, not the Pope, so I never saw you. So that's fun. That guy is cool. Anyway, eventually, another city we explore is a classic JRPG trope, the city in the sky. It's called Expire, and it's got fucking graphics. Wowie. I'd say the second or third best floating city I've seen in a JRPG. Number one, what's everyone's number one?
Let's see. I really like Skyloft as much as the rest of the environments in that game are only so, but Skyloft itself I really like. And I really like if it counts the entirety of 10,000 BC in Chrono Trigger.
It may or may not count. That's funny. I think the clear frontrunner is Shivat in Xenogears. I think that is the gold medal of floating cities.
Shivat's pretty good.
There's also the entirety of Button Kaitos. Like, how much does that count? Anyway,
Same with Skies of Arcadia. Like, how much does that count?
Yeah. Anyway, this it's really, really good. You can see sort of the world map underneath in like a skybox thing. It's really good. I will say, music's a little dull. It doesn't sound very skyy. It just sounds kind of vaguely ethereal. Anyway, it turns out it's the last repose. It's the secret city of half-elves. So half-elves live here for your persecution. That's cool. They just let us walk in, I guess, and just hang out. This is like no big deal. Nothing happens here. I get halfway through exploring the city and then accidentally leave. Because I clicked on something that turns out was an exit. My bad. I didn't finish exploring the city, so whatever's going on there, we'll find out later. Anyway, eventually we find Colette. I could have used a walkthrough or looked at my synopsis menu, but instead I just accidentally found her. She was a little bit north of Expire. She was just kind of hanging. I actually kind of forgot that our goal was to find Colette. I was just flying around. Anyway, she's on the world map. She's just like hanging there in the sky is like a single floating rock with like wind and shit around it. So you click on it and it's like, we found Colette. Okay, Rodile is there, and he says now he understands that Colette is worthless. She can't save the world, she can't form a pact with Martel, and she can't be used in the big canon. Then Regal says something about how he and Rodile are both the epitome of sin, and that he'll drag him down to hell. Whatever, it's cool. We either fight him or he runs away. I can't remember. Then a bunch of dragons show up, and it's a boss, but they're easy. There's some lore about the dragons that I didn't write down because, frankly, I thought it was boring, so deal with it. After the battle, the magic circle... So Colette is trapped inside of the same kind of magic circle that makes a super loud, high-pitched noise that we saw earlier in the game. So turns out the magic circle that she's chained to, it starts using her own magic power to trap the rest of us. So we're like, oh no, we can't move. And she's like, I can't stop it. And then she's like, oh, I feel so worthless. I can't be useful for any reason. Procystus says, don't say that. It's not you that's wrong. It's the whole damn system. And then she attacks the magic circle and breaks it. Turns out you can just do that. The entire floating island collapses, but we end up safe. Colette tells us that Rodile needed her Crucius crystal for a mana cannon. You know what I like about this week? Mana cannon. It sounds really good to say.
It really does.
Mana cannon. Mana cannon.
I feel like they should have called it a Manon.
That's a good point. Manon or a Manon machine.
Manon machine, yes.
Anyway, yeah. So Rodile needed her Crucius crystal for the Manon, but hers is no good. So they're doing the extremely obvious foreshadowing, like, yeah, there's going to be a twist. You don't know what it is, but there's going to be a twist. Persea turns out to be okay, and when she smiles, Regal says, she resembles her. ... It's just as I thought. We're like, yeah, we know. She has a younger sister that is now her older sister that you have some kind of past with. This is very obvious. Anyway, so that out of the way, we proceed to split the two worlds. Starting with Gnome, the Earth Spirit. Fun fact, we're literally right next to the Temple of Earth. Like, we landed in that previous cutscene from Everything Collapsed. We're like, all right, let's go to the Temple of Earth. It's nearby. Then you go to the world map, and you tap the control stick, and you're there. This temple's gimmick, and I actually do not mean this in a negative way, this temple's gimmick is being annoying. I find it very funny. You get in there, and there's this tiny little gnome. He is just a fucked up little guy, like the size of your fucking foot. And he's like, "Hey, loser, what do you want?" You're like, "Let us in." And he's like, "Fuck you! I'm not letting you in." And he said he's not going to let you in until his boss gets here. His boss is that gnome we saw earlier that I thought was a side quest. Turns out it's not a side quest. Mm-hmm. Most side quests in this game are not side quests, it turns out. Neat little structural thing. So we have to go back, and we have to give that gnome from before some fucking booze so that he can drink it. He doesn't think it's very good. He actually thinks it sucks, but he's like, well, you did do the thing I asked you to do, and I guess I went out to see the world to find this drink, and now that I've done it, I guess I should go home. So you go back home, and then that gnome lets us go through. Then you run into another gnome, and basically these gnomes, the second gnome also won't let you through, and he makes you go do something as well in a whole other place in the world. It's very annoying. But then you get to what you think is going to be the third one, and I'm like, I swear to fucking God, if you make me do this one more fucking time. And the third gnome is just like, hey, I'm in your way, Buster. You're like, yeah, you are in our way. What are you going to ask us to do to get out of your way? And he's like, nah, it's chill. I'll move. And it's real funny. The rest of the dungeon is actually quite good. So then I really enjoyed this whole dungeon. It's just like, hey, what if some fucked up little guys were just annoying? This dungeon is one of the two escort dungeons that we have this week, and this is the one with good pathfinding. We'll get to the one with the worst pathfinding I've literally ever seen. So then we fight Gnome, who is a cute little giant Monty Mole dude. I love him.
I adore Gnome.
Yeah, he's real fun.
My favorite.
He talks like this, like, hey baby, like, it's just a real good time. We beat him up, and then we go to Ice World. Okay, so then we do Ice World. Ice World is near the city I mentioned earlier. Turns out that side quest about getting the flower wasn't actually a side quest. We do actually have to do it. I'm not going to go into it at all. The dungeon is... Actually, no, I will mention one thing. This is our first ever ice slidey puzzle, which some people don't like ice slidey puzzles. I like ice slidey puzzles. When I'm playing Pokemon... And it's like, this is the ice dungeon. You have to do the ice slidey puzzle. You know, the kind where, like, if you walk in a direction, you just keep going in that direction until you hit something. And I'm like, hell yeah, one of my favorite stock puzzle types. So you do that, and it's a pretty tough one, too. You gotta put some brain into it.
Or if you have a guide that tells you where to go.
I ended up looking it up and was like, the solution was one I was going to try, like, 2 away from that. I just had given up because
you were like, oh, there's a few more options I could try.
Yeah, like me and Summer have been playing usually in the morning, but that week, which was last week, we slept in the mornings, so I had to play catch up like on a Wednesday night. And I was getting really tired at the time I was doing that, so I was like getting frustrated. I was like, let me just look it up so I can get to a goddamn save point. And I was like, of course, it's the one over to the side. I made it to the side earlier. Of course, it's going to be part of the answer. Like, it's always part of the answer. If you get to a second flat ground, that's the answer.
It is a little distracting because you're going through the ice puzzle and there's an extra little area on the side with a chest, and when it has a chest, that does partially make you think, oh, it's optional. Like, I can there's two routes. I can go directly through, or I can find a different route to get the chest. But no, going past the chest is part of the necessary route. Anyway, last week I mentioned how I was really appreciating how the dungeons are like really good now, and that just keeps being the case. But also not actually that long. This dungeon had like 2 puzzles.
Yeah.
But they're short, they're sweet, they're a real good time. Anyway, whatever. So we make a pact with Shiva. Her name's not Shiva. I'm not looking it up. I don't care.
It's Celsius.
Oh, right. So we make a pact
with... the worst voice acting in the game.
So we make a pact with Shiva,
landslide.
And Ifrit shows up and is like, hey, baby. And she's like, dog, stay away from me. You know we're bad for each other. And then they both realize that their link has been severed, so that takes care of that problem. Then the party realizes that if they successfully split the worlds, they will probably have to, like, part forever, but also maybe not. Remember, they are just kind of winging it here. As we exit, more earthquakes happen, and then there's a huge lightning storm over in the direction of Ozette. We go there, and everything is on fire. Ozette, just as a reminder, is Perseia's village. Yes, it caught on fire. Everyone's dead except for one villager. It's sad. The not dead villager tells us that angels came down from the sky and killed everyone. Fuck. Turned out that this lone survivor is just this little boy who is around Genesis' age and looks like Colette. Looks almost exactly like Colette, but just slight gender swap. Like using normative ideas of what gender is. It's just this little boy with blonde hair and a similar outfit, and his name is Mythos? What?
So there was an NPC long time ago that said basically how a whole bunch of Latino men named Jesus, because they're all named after the big winner of the Bible. Same sort of thing happened here. They're like, oh, the big winner of Martell was Mythos, so it's a very popular boy's name, which is why they don't pick up on the incredibly in-your-face foreshadowing. It makes sense that they don't.
See, here's the thing. That makes sense, but then how come there haven't been any other Mythoses the entire game? Because I was like, is this weird or is it not
Everyone's
weird?
name is Mythos.
But anyway, so we press Mythos, and he says that he actually lives sort of like on the outskirts of town, and then he admits that he's a half-elf, which makes sense. He lives on the outskirts of town, because if you recall, this town's whole thing is being even more racist against half-elves than the rest of this dimension. Altessa and his robot arrive and are like, fuck, this is terrible. He's shocked to see Perseia is back to normal. He then says, perhaps destroying the village was Angels' punishment for, quote, failing the experiment. And then, like most characters do in this game, he vaguely alludes to something and then runs off. The robot says that he thinks this is all his fault, so we take Mythos with us to go to Altessa's house. We kind of just are like, hey, your whole village just died, just like, you're with us now. Just like, we're not going to, like, you probably should be protected by people who have higher level than you. So, the whole rest of the game, they're just like, Mythos, just come along here. You might as well just hang with us. So we talk to the Altessa and get the shtick. Okay. So he admits that he's actually a craftsman who used to work for Crucius. He hated his work, and eventually he fled and came to Ozette. But Rodile found him. Rodile forced Altessa to create a Crucius crystal on pain of death, and then he and Kate used it to experiment on Perseia. Rodile works for Crucius, but actually wanted to rebel against Crucius, presumably using Perseia. When Yggdrasil found out, this is why he probably destroyed Ozette, to punish Altessa for working with a traitor.
Yeah. This part with Rodile begins a thing that's true for the entire rest of the week, where because Crucius is the renegades, is the Church of Martel, is the Designs. Those are all synonyms. The fact that Rodile was against some of them, and Ewan is a quadruple agent for all of them, it gets real hard to understand who is doing what for
it gets
why.
very confusing. It's a real like July of 1917 Russia in St. Petersburg situation. Yeah, it's like, okay, so these guys are running things, but also these guys are running things, and like they're doing like what's the Russian phrase? Whatever. They're like, these guys are letting these guys be in power in as much as whatever. It doesn't really matter that much. So anyway, but yeah, it actually is important, so pay attention to my bad explanation. So the point is, Altessa feels really bad. He says he wished he could do more than just apologize. Persea tells him not to. Persea, she thinks she's going to do the JRPG thing, or she's like, it's okay, I forgive you, but she's like, no, don't apologize because I cannot forgive you, so don't bother. Like, it would be a waste of an apology. Nothing you say will bring back my lost years of my life or the villagers or anyone else. Everyone else in the party is kind of like, you should forgive him, but we don't push that hard. We decide to ask him for even more information. Lore time. So we find out that Crucius is mostly made of half-elves, but also some dwarves. They want to begin the, quote, Age of Half-Elves and revive Martel. Their goal is to use the Church of Martel to fuse the Chosen with Martel. We kind of knew some of this and kind of didn't know some of this. It turns out the Designs have... Okay. Spoiler alert. This part's stupid. It turns out that the Designs never wanted to kill Colette or stop her. Remember all those times when the Designs were trying to kill Colette or stop her? No, they didn't. Turns out that the angel transformation and also mana powers in general are like accelerated and transformed by fear and suffering and danger. So they attacked Colette and put her in danger in order to prompt her evolution and her growth, not actually wanting to stop her. So I don't know. I feel like they could have just said, hey, can you gain lots of levels? We would like it if you would do that. But instead they said, we're going to kill you. Oh, no, you killed all of our guys.
And also, it was never the Designs that we fought in a seal when we released it. And it would make sense, like, if the Grand Cardinal stopped us every bit of the way as Colette would unlock her new powers. But no, she unlocks her powers when we fight whatever monster is at the bottom of the seal.
Yeah, well, maybe they just figured she just needed an extra little, you just need an extra little push. I don't know. But yeah, they were always basically getting in her way and being a pain in the ass so that we would, like, grow and learn the power of friendship and shit. Okay, sure. Anyway, however, so none of them actually wanted to kill her or stop her, except for rebels like the Renegades or Rodile, which do actually want to stop her. So Rodile's goal is to complete the mana cannon, the Manon he acquired at his own human ranch in Silverant and take over the world. So you got these bad guys that are all kind of the same guy, but also they're all sort of different groups. And this guy is like, no, actually, I'm a rogue agent. I just want to take over the world. That makes sense. So Yggdrasil tied the two worlds together via 4 mana links, and then we learn about something new called the Great Seed. He put the Great Seed in the center. The Great Seed is the soul of Mythos. Everyone finally realizes the obvious. Mythos himself traveled between the two worlds long ago, but not via Ryard, which didn't exist. So there must be some door between the two worlds' poles, but probably at the Holy Grounds. Though Regal says there's also something called the Otherworldly Gate, which is mentioned in Legends. Okay, so there's 2 different ways of getting between worlds. Actually, 3.
I love that, like, they're trying to think of, what could possibly be the gate to the other world? And they're like, do you think it's the Otherworldly Gate from Legends? And they're like, well, no. Obviously, since we've been fighting God and seeing all of our legends come alive, legends are all fake. There's no otherworldly gate that would lead us to the other world.
So we stay the night. Genis and Mythos become friends, and turns out that each is the only half-elf their age they've ever met. It's actually quite sweet. When we wake up, Rain is gone. She left a note saying she had something to take care of, but the robot saw her headed south So we decide to follow her to probably Altamira. Also, Mythos joins our party. I didn't use Mythos this entire game. I don't know what his stats are or what his deal is.
He is a guest character. He does not fight.
He is not used.
Well, there you go. I kind of thought that might have been the case, but I never actually checked. So, look, I got a real good party going. I ain't changing it. At Altamira, we ask everyone, where the fuck is Rain? And everyone's like, oh yeah, I saw someone earlier. Oh, I saw someone over there. Eventually, we run into... Wow, I need to speed it up. I actually thought my notes weren't that long, but I guess they actually are. I'll speed it up. So anyway... Oh, I just scrolled bad. We run into a new character, a business-ass looking guy who says, Alicia, is that you? While looking at Persea. She says, no, I'm not Alicia. That's my sister. Also, this guy's name is George. He tells us, oh yeah, that makes sense. Alicia came here many years ago to work for the rich Bryant family. But then that tragedy happened, and she died. Her grave lies in the Lozareno Company headquarters. So we go to the Sky Garden. It's a beautiful, peaceful little bonsai garden. Persea sees Alicia's grave, and it has an X-sphere in it. Then we hear Alicia's voice, and her ghost appears. She says the X-sphere killed her body and absorbed her consciousness, but she'll be gone soon. She asks Persea to find Sir Bryant, her former master, who she says killed her. Now that might sound like one kind of thing, but she very notably doesn't say, like, find him to kick his ass and get revenge. She doesn't say that at all. But she fades away before explaining, so Persea and Lloyd assume we're supposed to find Bryant and kick his ass as revenge. Even though, again, if they could pick up on, like, context clues or, like, vocal performance or facial expressions, they would realize that this girl probably does not hate Bryant and something else going on. Again, it's not a spoiler, it's very obvious. So when we get down to the lobby of Lozareno Company, we overhear two employees talking about how the Otherworldly Gate is going to open tonight. That's convenient. They tell us it's just a rumor. It's one of those JRPG things where they're like, everyone talks about this rumor. I wonder if it's true, when it's like a very easily provable rumor. You know? Like, in Persona 4, they're like, have you heard the rumor that if you turn your TV on at midnight, you see a special channel? It's like, it would take 5 seconds for any of us to see if this is true or not. Why are we saying... It's a weird thing that I only see in JRPGs. It drives me insane. Mm-hmm. Anyway, in this game, there's at least a little bit of an explanation why no one goes there, because if you go over there, if it's true, it'll suck you into Silverant, and Silverant is a shitty world that sucks, and no one wants to go there.
And anyway, Silverant doesn't have an Otherworldly Gate.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. So we fly east to the Otherworldly Gate. It's like a big Stonehenge, and there she is. It's Rain. She tells us, this is where Genis and I were abandoned. What? She says that she didn't realize it either, but they flew past this place earlier, and it matches her memories. They were actually raised in the secret village of the elves that she's like, it's so secret, no one knows where it is. I went there earlier on accident while exploring, sorry. But then they left her here because, they don't say why they left her here, but they left her and Genis here because it was a path to the magical land of Silverant where they wouldn't be oppressed. So yeah, she's actually from Tesla. Anyway, then Kuchinawa appears with a bunch of guards. He says he's finally going to avenge his parents and everyone else who died when Sheena fucked up with Volt back then. There's some more explanation here. I'm not going to get into it. Kuchinawa just doesn't like Sheena. We kick the guards' asses, but then Sheena is going to fight Kuchinawa herself, 1v1, for no reason. And then the door to Silverant opens, and Zelos grabs Sheena and pulls her and the rest of us in. So, after having a big adventure, we are now back in Silverant. On the other side, she's mad at him, but everyone's like, look, we all need to work together and stop doing the whole pointlessly sacrifice yourself thing. And she's like, okay. We then head to Palmacosta to drop off Mythos, like literally just like, hey, Palmacosta's nearby. Mythos doesn't have an X-sphere and can't really hang with us because it's too dangerous. Let's just go say hi to Neil. So we go to Neil's place in Palmacosta, and he's so happy to see us. There's a funny part where he asks the Chosen how the journey to release the seals is going, and Colette's like, oh yeah, it's going great. That definitely is still a thing. It hasn't not been a thing for like a while now. Yeah, we're getting right on it, man. We learned that some things have changed since last we were here. Designs have been hanging around the destroyed Palmacosta human ranch, and they've been using that to go out to something at sea that they're working on. like another base of some kind. So we go and check it out. We get there, and it's not Desians, but rather renegades. So Bata and Yuan, if you recall, we just fought Yuan last week. Bata and Yuan are like, hey, actually, we need to join forces. We're like, okay, you're gonna have to explain that one. You have to sell me on that. So one of them, Bata or Yuan, tells us about the giant tree. At the holy ground of Karlon, there used to be a giant tree that was the source of all mana. You might think a giant tree that holds the whole world together. That's like the legendary city of tree of Yggdrasil from Norse legends and from lots of games. But no, Yggdrasil is something different in this game. Yeah. In this game, it's just called the giant tree. It's not called Yggdrasil. So don't get that confused. Me too. So anyway, it got destroyed in the war long ago, and all that's left is the Great Seed. It's absolutely vital to, quote, reunite the two worlds. So here we realize, because they keep saying the worlds were tied together, but it's like, well, what were they before that, right? Were they just two unrelated worlds? Like, what? No. Turns out the two worlds used to just be one world, like one big world map, like a reverse FF5. And then apparently at some point, Yggdrasil destroyed the tree, which split the one world into two separate dimensions, and now the two worlds have to fight over the small amount of mana left in the Great Seed. So we're fighting over limited amount of mana in the Great Seed. If the giant tree were to grow again, it would fix everything. Makes sense. Because everyone knows that when you go from a scarcity-based society to a post-scarcity society, inequality disappears. You can't still have inequality.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the thing we all understand. So the seed is dying, so we need to grow it pronto. Maybe we could just expose it to a shit ton of mana, and then it'll grow. But where to get such a thing? Wait a second. Crucius is... The place where Crucius is from, Boris Karloff, Darius Karlon, is a comet made from a shit ton of mana. So instead of using that mana to revive the Great Seed, they're instead using it to revive Martel, who lives inside the seed. So you got the seed, and you got Martel. And they're like, we like Martel, we don't like the seed, fuck the seed, we're going to revive Martel using all of our magic that comes from Boris Karloff. Basically, either Martel or the seed will awaken and absorb the other one. So anyway, all of the stuff Boda and Yuan are telling us sounds pretty good. All makes a lot of sense, actually. So then Lloyd asks Yuan, okay, are you a boy or a girl? No, I'm just kidding. He asks, because, y'all get it. No, he asked Lloyd, okay, but, seriously, are you with Crucius or are you with the Renegades? we're very confused right now. And he says, he literally is like, I am an officer with Crucius, but I'm also the head of the Renegades. And I'm like, that doesn't answer the question.
I'm not just the president of Hair Club for me.
Yeah. So of course what Lloyd meant was, which of these two groups are you actually loyal to? But Yuan just says, I'm both. But Lloyd does correctly intuit that means that he's a double agent, which presumably means he doesn't like Crucius and is double agenting for them on behalf of the Renegades. Again, he does not make this clear, but this is what everyone understands. So we decided to trust him-ish. We're going to infiltrate Totodile's base. Also, here in a pretty funny scene, Yuan and Bada ask us to please not destroy this one like we usually do. Every single base we go to, we destroy it, but we can't destroy this one. We need to regenerate the seed. Okay, thanks. So we go up the dungeon. Is what I wrote in my notes. It's gorgeous. This is a really cool dungeon. It's got a really cool elevator that has a top-down view where it comes up the camera, and it's got it rotating. It's good. It's good graphics. At the top of the dungeon, we see Totodile, and Persea is about to kick his ass, but he says, "Wait, before you kick my ass, look at the screen. Look at that screen." He turns out he's flooding the whole corridor leading to the Manon with water, thus blocking us from getting to it, and also incidentally killing a bunch of prisoners, which we don't like that. He says, "Mwahahaha," with the Tower of Mana, with the power of mana is what I should have written. With the power of mana, nobody can stop me. Oh, that's why I wrote it. With the mana cannon, no one can stop me. I'll even destroy that eyesore, the Tower of Mana. But he doesn't tell us why he wants to build the Tower of Mana. It's another one of those, he briefly alludes to something and then doesn't explain it. He then takes a Crucius Crystal and it's like, hell yeah, I got this Crucius Crystal right here. And then he turns into a big hideous boss monster and we kick its ass. It's not even that hard. And then he says, Pranima, you tricked me. Presumably she gave him the Crucius Crystal and said it would make him a badass, and then it didn't. But then Rodile activates the self-destruct sequence and dies. We're really, we really don't want that. We're really worried that if it self-destructs, Boda will be mad at us. So we try to turn, because he explicitly told us not to. So we try to turn off the self-destruct on the computer, but we can't figure it out. So then Boda bursts in, says, look, I'll handle it. I majored in computer. Please escape through that hatch. So we escape through a hatch. And then we see through glass that water is pouring into the control room we just left. Turns out, Boda realized this was going to happen. He made us leave so that we wouldn't die. So he sacrifices himself. He stops the self-destruct mechanism, but then is trapped in this flooding room, and then it floods. And he says, now that we've restarted the generators at every base and saved the Manon, we are now ready to fire on the tree, so y'all go save the world. And then he dies of water. So then we're like, oh no, he died of water. Oh right, I should have mentioned this. So earlier when we parted ways with Mythos, he was like, Genis, you're my best friend. Here, take this flute. And he gives him a pan flute, and we're like, what is this? And he's like, it was my sister's. It's probably not an important plot item or anything. I'm normal. So then he says, anyway, so at this point, we're sitting there, and what happens? Oh, yeah, that's right. We fight some dragons. Same dragons as before. It's not a hard battle at all. But then the game does the thing where after we beat the dragons, they're like, there's too many of them. We can't keep fighting the dragons. And I'm like, I could definitely keep fighting the dragons. I'm not even cheating. And then we're like, what do we do? So then Genis takes out the flute. And it's like, maybe I'll blow this flute. So he blows the flute. And then a giant fucking magical laser comes out of the sky and fucking murders all the dragons. It's very cool. And about a half a second later, Mythos shows up flying on a Ryard and is like, get in here. So then we go up there and we are chatting with him and we're like, how did you know we were here? And he's like, I just thought maybe you would need someone to rescue you. I was just worried about you. So I flew my Ryards. And then, he's like, also I started shooting a lot of bombs down there at the dragons. And we're like, okay, but the bombs were one thing, but there was also like a giant fucking laser that came out of a golden magical bird. What was up with that? And Mythos is like, I have no idea. So who knows? So back at Palmacost, so from what I can tell is, I think the magic flute did call a magical golden bird to come save us with lasers. It did not call Mythos, who was already there coincidentally. Anyway, so back at Palmacosta, we tell Neil, hey, we took care of the problem, and now we need to continue the world regeneration. And also
I love how they're technically not lying to Neil. It's just he's saying these words, but he does not mean them in the way that we are meaning them.
They're like, look, we don't want to bother you with all the technical details of of how this journey has taken a bunch of turns. Look, all you need to know is we're gonna fix the problems and it's all gonna be fine. We definitely didn't break everything, and we're definitely not gonna break it worse. So anyway, Mythos' flute is now broken, by the way. We learned that it was made of the nut of a long-extinct tree. Where have we heard about a long-extinct tree? Not the one we just were talking about 5 minutes ago. The one we were talking about a few weeks ago. Different tree. Yeah.
Well, so, me and Maddy were like, this sounds like a really fun side quest. I can't wait to do this on one of the weeks where we can just hang out and do side quests.
Nope. So we go to Silveron Base, which, if you recall, is run by Renegades, not actual Designs. To tell Yuan, we just got to give an update. Say, hey, Yuan, we saved the cannon, but Boda dies. He's literally just like, okay, cool, bye. It's like the characters even comment on the fact that he was just like weirdly businesslike about saying that his friend died. He's just like, all right, cool. he turns on the dimensional rift. So now we can transfer at will. We have flight.
Oh, yeah.
We have dimensional rift. We can now explore either dimension at will. The world's our oyster. Anyway, we then take Mythos back to Altessa's place in Tetheala, and he's like, "Bye, everyone. Good luck with avenging Briseis' sister's murder." Here's the thing. Regal, if you recall, didn't set foot in that town, so he wasn't there for that scene. So when Mythos is like, "Hey, bye, bye, Briseis. Good luck avenging your sister's murder," Regal is like, "What?" So then we tell him. You're like, "Oh yeah, Briseis had a sister named Alicia, and she was murdered by some guy named Bryant." And he's like, we gotta fucking go. We gotta fucking go right now. I'm gonna kick some motherfucking guy's ass. That bastard. I hate him. There's no one I hate more than Bryant. Boy, that Bryant guy just sucks. Anyway, so we go to Altamira. And we go to the Lowe's Arena Company, and everyone inside has been owned. An injured guard says that it was Varley, who, if you recall, Varley is the guy you've seen like twice. He's just like a weird, shady sort of character who sells X-Spheres and has some kind of past with Regal. So anyway, we go back up to the Sky Terrace, and we see Varley terrorizing George the butler for the password to the inner part of the mine. If you recall, the mine dungeon from last week had a door we couldn't open. So Regal butts in, and Varley says, "So the president himself decides to pay a visit." So it turns out Regal's real name is Bryant. He's a member of the Bryant family and is the president of the Lorenzo Company. Also, Zealous knew this all along due to a coincidence. So, did Regal kill Alicia? Is he that Bryant? Alicia's ghost appears and says yes. She calls him Master. So, here's the deal. So, Alicia and Regal were in love. Already a little sus. Alicia was literally his maid, but, whatever. This is JRPGs. We all know how JRPGs feel about monarchies and master-servant relations and just hierarchies in general. They're very for them. Okay. So, Alicia and Regal were in love, but George, their servant, didn't like it. Maybe because of racism or something. He doesn't explain why. So he intervened and decided, I'm just going to take Alicia and hand her over to Varley so we can do fucked up X-Sphere experiments. In order to get her back, Regal said, "Varley, you can take the entire mine. Just give the girl I love back." But when she came back, she had already turned into a big monster. Turns out she wasn't compatible with the experiment, so she begs for death. He says, I can't possibly kill you. She says, "No, if you love me, you have to kill me." So he does and puts her out of her misery. So Alicia, in the present, as a ghost, says that she's so glad she got to see him again. Please stop punishing yourself. Everyone in the party encourages Regal, says, "Seriously, stop hating yourself." And he's like, that Bryant bastard, I hate him so much. Anyway, he finally says, "Okay, fine. I'll take off my shackles, ... after we defeat Crucius," which is a really cool way to add some extra drama while also not making the graphic designers have to make a new character model for him.
Yes.
But it also makes sense narratively, so it works.
Because not only would they have to redesign his character, they would have to reanimate his whole character to have punches and stuff instead of just kicks.
Yep. Anyway, so this has just been a day full of very minor plot twists about characters' backstories. So we destroy the EX sphere to give Alicia peace. He then says, after killing Alicia, he was thrown in jail, or he confessed to killing her and was thrown in jail. And then you really think at some point this world's legal system would have a law regarding you killed someone, but they were a horrible, fucked up mutant who begged for death. This has happened a number of times. You'd think their ethical system would have evolved to accommodate this eventuality, given how common of a situation it is.
I don't remember if it was in this scene or in a skit afterwards or whatever. But the only reason he's in jail is because he went there and was like, "Yeah, I murdered someone." They're like, oh,
I guess that means we should throw you in jail.
It's like, oh, who? Oh, my maid, Alicia. You mean the crazy monster you just saved us from? He's like, yes, I've committed the ultimate sin. They're like, okay, I guess we'll put you in jail. You're like like you have the pull. So if you want to just hang out in jail, you just kind of can, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah, it's funny. This game has so many scenes of characters just talking and chilling, and yet none of the talking and chilling is ever about like, hey, maybe you don't need to endlessly beat yourself up for killing someone if they transformed into a horrible abomination and wanted you to kill them. Maybe all of us feeling bad about that all the time doesn't make any sense. But they don't. Anyway. Although, at least in his case, he also does feel guilty for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's that. So anyway, he's in jail, and then the Pope shows up and promises that he'll arrest Varley if Regal kidnaps Colette. So that's why all that happened way back in the day. We go get Sylph. That's it. We also maybe go get Ifrit if we didn't already have him. I already did. So then we go to the Temple of Darkness to get that summon spirit, but oh no, it's too dark. So we go to Meltokio to check out the magic research facility to find a way to make things be not dark. Oh, and it can't just get like a normal candle because it's magical darkness. On the way, we run into Kratos. He says, hey, stop trying to sever the links. You shouldn't mess around. Okay, I know that's not Kratos' voice, but it is Knuckles' voice, and to me, they're the same.
They're very much alike.
He goes, you shouldn't mess around with stuff you don't know the outcome of. It could cause something you can't undo. Just be patient. Then he walks off. Yeah, he's like, hey, this idea that you just had off the top of your head that maybe completely destroying the link between these two worlds will make everything better. Like, what if that's not true? And we're all just like, what if it is, though? You ever think about that? Yeah? Anyway, then he walks off. Then some stuff happens in the this stuff doesn't matter. I'm just gonna bless through. Okay, so we get to the medic facility and we're like, hey, we need a magic candle to make things not dark. And they're like, we're mad at you because Kate got arrested for doing the stuff from earlier. And so now Kate is a prisoner in the Colosseum being forced to fight. Remember that Colosseum from earlier? So we go and we enter in the Colosseum fight, and it's one fight and it's really easy. And then we find Kate and we rescue her, and then they give us the candle. But then Kate is like, I'm actually from Ozette. And then you go back to Ozette, even though it's all destroyed. And then we learn a little unimportant plot twist backstory about Kate, which is that Kate's dad is the Pope.
Yep.
And her mom is presumably just some elf, so she's a half elf. They don't explain why her dad treated her so bad and locked her up and made her do fucked up experiments, and also made a law that immediately said that all half elves should be murdered. But they don't explain this, but I'm assuming it was like a bastard child. That just seems like an extremely obvious thing to do, but they never actually explained that. Anyway, we now have a blue candle, and we do the Temple of Darkness. It's great. So here's my explanation of why the Temple of Darkness owns. First of all, it's beautiful. Holy cow, the graphics.
Yes.
They got the memo from every other video game that anytime something is a Temple of Darkness, it has to have lots of like negative space and huge areas, which this one does. It's really good. Lots of big runes and slabs. It's very brutalist. It's fucking dope. There's this really cool puzzle where like there's all these blocks where if you push one block in, a different one comes out, and you have to deal with that. It's actually quite cool. And also it's extremely easy to avoid the battles. I had like 0 battles this entire dungeon. So anyway, the annoying thing about this dungeon that also kind of rules is that the dark spirit, the spirit of darkness or whatever, has been broken up into 5 different pieces, and the pieces are scattered throughout the dungeon, and you have to like find a way to get to them, and then they have to follow you to the rendezvous point, basically at the bottom of the dungeon. But if you go through a scene, an area transition, a load screen, they won't follow you. So oftentimes you have to mess with the dungeon's layout, like by moving things around and stuff to make a path so that you can get them where they need to go, right? And it might not be the path that you took. So it's real good brain think. There is one more thing. The summon spirits are these little black shadows, and they are so cute. They are just
adorable.
This has been a great week for just for little guys. Okay, they're these really good little guys. Bless them. Anyway, as Sam alluded to earlier, they have terrible pathfinding. Although I don't even know if it's pathfinding, because sometimes they would just stop. My theory is that they're intentionally designed to just be like rambunctious little kids and not do a good job of following you.
They're annoying as fuck.
They're extremely annoying. I also found them extremely cute and funny.
They are, but
you can get more than one to follow you at once, which is nice. So like theoretically you could get each one and go down to the bottom, or, and I don't mean the very bottom, I mean like the midway point. Or you can nab 2 or 3 of them and try and do them at once. On the other hand, that's more difficult. Anyway, it's kind of fun. It's like herding a bunch of little chickens where you're like, come on, and then one of them just stops for no reason. You have to run back like, no, come on.
Worse than the stopping is you can get. I tried to get all 5 at once because I thought you had to because of the aforementioned load screen thing. Like I thought you had to.
It turns out when they get to a certain spot, they like stop and it's like now they're there. But yeah.
Because I had noticed that they were reverting, and so I was like, "Shit, I have to get them all at once." So I had 4 of them following me, and like some would stop, and I would run back to get it, and that would be cue for the other ones to just like scatter to the edges of whatever platform we were on, and just like there would be this tiny little walkway that I had to like inch my way across to get everyone there, and then one of them stopped, so I go back, and the rest of them like charge back across that little pathway, and it just was like I have kids in my real life. I do not need to wrangle kids in a video game. It was too much.
Yeah, it's
great dungeon though. Love it.
Yeah, it's
one of my favorites.
It's quite funny. Yeah. And anyway, once you get all 5 of them down to the bottom, there's sort of a save point, and then you get to keep going. And then you have to do all 5 of them. So you have to go down all these like long, wide walkways, avoiding enemies while just being like, Come on, you bastards. No, Jimmy, do not go that way. No, stop looking at your shoes. We're going to, I will turn this party around if you don't fucking behave. It's really cute. Anyway, whatever. You get to the bottom, and that's it. So everyone realizes they only have one summon spirit left, the Spirit of Light, Asuka in Silverant. But once we do it, the worlds might be separated, so we got to get all our affairs in order before we do it. So we get an optional pre-victory lap. Basically they're like, yeah, we should go say bye to everyone before we do this. I did do one part. I went to Ozette because they explicitly said let's go to Ozette. And if you go to Ozette, if you recall, not Ozette, sorry. Mizuho, yeah, where Sheena's from. If you recall, we kind of promised all of them that they could move to Silverant. We kind of promised them that if they helped us out, so they could avoid persecution and stuff. But we're kind of separating the 2 worlds, and what they say, they're like, look, our people are all over the place. We got that whole thing where we're spies and information brokers, like, we're all over the world. It would take way too long to get the message out, get them all together, find a way to move. Unfortunately, it's just not in the cards. But also, they do have a lot of spies in Silverant. So it's basically like, look, Sheena, when the world's split, you stay in Silverant, and you can be the new like chief of all the ninjas in Silverant, and the ones that are still here, we're just going to stay here. We know you promised, but there's really no other way around it. But thank you for helping us. We appreciate it. Blah, blah, blah. That's all I did. Did y'all do any? Sam, did you do some other ones?
Yes, so I did. I did all of them, and none of them are really important. The only one that's like kind of weird is even Rain and Genus think about staying in Tetheala. Did you get the like final scene before we all leave where they all decide that they're going to Power of Friendship, or is that my reward for doing the victory lap?
I don't think I got that one, actually.
Okay, so I'll talk about that one. But you so you take Rain to the library place where Kate is, and she's like, wow, like, this is my ancestral home. I could learn so much. You take Genus to Mythos. They're best friends. Mythos is like, you can't leave me. We're best friends. And Genus is like, I don't want to leave you because we're best friends. And he's like, should I just stay here so Mythos won't be alone? And I'm like, Mythos could come with us. Like, I don't want him to come with us because he's obviously Yggdrasil. He has the same character model as a child Yggdrasil. Like, his name is Mythos. Like, he's obviously the main villain of the game. But pretending I don't know that, he could come with us. Like, he has no ties here either. And then you go to Altamira, and Regal is like, I need to figure out something to do with the company. You take Presea to Ozette, and she just says goodbye to her father's grave. You take Zelos to Meltokyo, and his is kind of really cool because he's like everything in Tethe'ala is more, including the difference between a rich person and a poor person, because he's hanging out in the slums. And he's like, I fucking hate it here. This place sucks. Let's burn it to the ground. Like, fuck it. Let's get out of here. And so then once you see everybody's scene, you all meet up outside of someplace. I forget where. It's not important. And you have a camp. And it's just Colette and Lloyd at first. And they're like, well, I hope everybody shows up. And hilariously, Sheena is the first one to show up. And Lloyd's like, oh, Sheena, you're coming with? She's like, well, you thought you could make the pact with the fucking summon spirit? Like, who the fuck are you? Of course I'm coming to Silverhant. We already talked about this.
We literally, I'm the summoner? Like, okay.
Right? I'm
also,
like,
I'm gonna be the also, yeah, like, you don't need to fucking be like, also, I actually did too, see, now that I realize it. It's like, also, like, I'm gonna be the queen of the Silverhant ninjas. Like, were you just you were just spaced out for that whole thing, huh?
Yeah. And so then everybody one by one shows up. Most of them have like the obvious answer, where of course Genus isn't going to just stay somewhere else to be with a friend. It's so dumb. But Reigns I really like.
Genus
she's
is
like
a lesbian.
Yes. Reigns I really like. She's like, if we're going to separate the world, there's going to be a lot of rebuilding, so people need teachers, so I need to be there. And I'm like, that's really cute. Zelos is also very cute in his Zelos sort of way, where he's like, I can't believe all you guys would just be leaving your ancestral home like this. Like, this is crazy. And it's like, oh, Zelos, are you staying? No, I've hit on every girl in Tethe'ala. All the girls that I could ever hook up with from now on are all in Silverhant. So I got to head over there so that I can bone more chicks. And it's
good for him.
It's good. But yeah, so then we all decide that everyone's coming with us. So we hop on our Riards and head over to the Tower of Mana.
Nice. That scene must have been modular, because I only got the one with Sheena. So that's cool. We love a modular cutscene, folks. So we head to Silverhant. Remember that super long quest involving a tree that may have been a side quest? Well, turns out, no, it's not. You have to do that to find the magic bird, which is actually the summon spirit that we need. So we find the Link-Kite tree. It's just on the world map. It's just somewhere you can only get via Ryard. Remember how it was like a stupid, complicated quest with a bunch of necessary things? Well, we already have all of them. We just coincidentally have all of them. I'll explain how later. Except we do need an X-Sphere. So we go to Dirk's house to say hi to our old man and get an X-Sphere. I'm thinking, oh, it's our first time seeing Dirk in a really long time. There's going to be a sweet little reunion scene. No. You literally barge in and say, hey, Dad, we need an X-Sphere. And he's like, here you go. See you later. Which, you know what? Honestly, that's good dad vibes. The dad isn't like, come here, son, let's have dinner. He's just like, all right, here you go.
It even goes where, like, Lloyd is expecting his dad to be like, he's like, hey, Dad, I'm back for the first time in months. And he's like, cool, I found some junk for you. I think you might like it. It's on the table. And he's like, are you glad to see me? He's like, always, but take this shit off my table. I don't need it anymore. Go finish your little adventure and then be home later. It's fine. Yeah. Whatever. I don't give a shit.
It's real cute. So anyway, we do it. The way it works is it's like, oh, how do we restore the ground so that this tree cannot be dead anymore? Oh, we use the ground spirit that we got. Oh, how do we make the tree revive? Oh, we cast maybe that's like using Sylph or something like that.
You use the unicorn horn spell.
Unicorn horn, that's right. Yeah, we use the unicorn horn. Oh, now the tree's back. Oh, we also had to make it's like five other things. And then they're like, oh, we need to make an instrument to play a song that sounds like that sounds like bells in the air, and then Lloyd is like, oh, I am a craftsperson, kind of. I can use the Linkite tree's nuts to repair this flute, which we have this flute. Basically every item in the game that we've gotten that's been like an important plot thing is now something we need to complete this quest. I don't even remember what the EX Sphere does, whatever. So anyway, then the bird Aska shows up, and Aska says, where's Luna? I won't make a pact without Luna. I guess Luna and Aska are both light spirits. Sheena says that's fine, so Aska flies off to see Luna. Turns out Luna's at the Tower of Salvation, which I had definitely forgotten that had happened. So we go to the Tower of Salvation again. But
Mana, not Salvation. There's 2 towers.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. We go to the Tower of Mana, which is just that random tower we had to go through with the library in it. We had to go there a few times when we were doing quests. Tower of Salvation is much more important, and we do not go there today. And we will not go there ever, for reasons. So on the way to the Tower of Mana, we run into Kratos. He says that the Borlis Karloff, quote, core system just, quote, finished calculating its answer. Okay,
Whatever.
I guess it was 42. If we form the pact, the protection around the Great Seed will disappear. We're like, yeah, duh. That's the whole point, you bitch. But then Yuan attacks Kratos and says, I'll hold him off. Go make the pact, you dingus. So then a lot of stuff happens, and let's try and get through this. Okay, so we get the pact, and then immediately it goes into an anime cutscene. We have to like fight a boss and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. And Sheena makes the pact, and then
the boss was real hard for me, but it's not important.
It's actually pretty tough for me. Are we? Oh wow, damn it, I thought I was hurrying. So we see an anime cutscene where so Kratos turns out may have had some good ideas. Maybe we should have listened to him when he was like, "Hey, our magic supercomputer said don't do the thing," and we're just like, "What if we did though?" So the tree grows, which is what we wanted. The tree grows, and then it doesn't stop growing. He tree too big for he goddamn planet. The tree sprouts giant roots everywhere, and it destroys entire cities and just completely fucks up everything and like basically destroys the whole fucking world, and then becomes just the biggest. It's not like a green blossoming tree. It's like all just brown and sticky. It looks like a giant bramble. You can tell it's bad.
It is bad tree.
Yeah. And then we see that we see that the what do you call it? The goddess Martel is like in like a little cocoon inside of this giant hideous looking tree. Everyone's like, uh-oh. And then Colette realizes that was Martel inside the tree. And then we're wondering what the fuck is going on. So then Kratos explains what he probably would have explained earlier if we just let him talk. He said that the summon spirits were giving... Basically, he says that the two worlds were forced out of phase by Yggdrasil, and they were supposed to drift apart. Like, the two worlds are separated, they're just going to drift apart and be, quote, consumed by the void. But the Great Seed placed in between them stopped that from happening. So basically, the Great Seed was like glue, like just pulling those two worlds, keeping them from not drifting apart and being destroyed. So he says it's a surprise that managed to work as long as it did. You know how we shot the Great Seed, which was very unstable, because it's constantly being pulled with pressure? We shot it with a bunch of mana. It turned out it germinated way too far. It's out of control. It even engulfed Martel. It's going to completely consume and destroy Silverant. And if Silverant's destroyed, Teithla will also be destroyed because they are still linked by the Holy Ground of Karlon and the Otherworldly Gate. And everyone's going to die. Every single thing in the whole universe will die except for the tree and the world of Boris Karloff and the angels what live there. Everyone's like, we should probably fix this problem. Basically, I'm going to skip past this. We decide that we're going to shoot it with the cannon again, but we're going to shoot it with Teethla Summon Spirit energy, because maybe since they're opposites, they'll like cancel out. This is actually Lloyd's idea, because he misremembers how magnets work.
It's so good.
Yeah, Rain is like, so that's not how magnets work. However, you're probably right about the situation. It's quite cute. So they need to shoot it, but I honestly don't even remember how this works. It turns out that they have to go to the cannon to shoot the cannon, but also we got to go to the Iselia base. Because because the guards there reconfigured the base to be not what it needs to be. So, and also, Lloyd remembers that Chocolat was at the Iselia base ages ago, and we said we were going to rescue him. So basically,
back when we were able to do side quests before we left to Tetheala, I forgot to follow up on Chocolat, and so like this whole time I've been like, crap, because like I came back and I'm like, I have the reards, let's get those side quests. So I went and got Ifrit, which I didn't get before. Did a couple of things there. Also tried to do the Linkite tree quest because I wasn't far enough yet. But then I go over to Iselia Ranch and Lloyd's like, can't get too close to the ranch. And I'm like, but Chocolat, I'm like, did I doom her forever by not doing this earlier? And so when they were like, we have to go save her, I'm like, oh, thank fucking God, it was a plot thing for later. Like, I really thought I had doomed this girl to a life of indentured servitude.
Yep. So, long story short, we split up in two different directions. One side goes to the Sheena, and some others go to the cannon to get ready to fire it. And then Lloyd and pretty much everyone else, including Kratos, go to the Iselia human ranch to break in and fix the problem, and also rescue some people. Kratos asks why we brought him along, and he says, and Lloyd says, our objectives are temporarily the same, but like not really, so I'm keeping you here, which makes sense. Let me click back real quick. Also real quick, we cut quickly to Mythos and Tabitha. An earthquake causes a rock to fall on Tabitha, but Mythos pushes her out of the way and gets owned. Anyway, so we go through the dungeon, and it's pretty short, and then we get to and we also rescue the prisoners and stuff. And then we get to Foreskin. And he says, I'm sorry, I keep doing this. I have to. Foreskin says he doesn't give a fuck if this world is destroyed because they all live in the mana-rich paradise of... Okay, I don't actually remember what it's called anymore. It's Boris Karloff. They all live in Boris Karloff. We don't give a fuck. It turned out it's not like they want to destroy the world. It's just that they only care about one thing, which is to revive Martel. They want to revive Martel. And if the tree grows unhindered, it'll protect Martel. So they're like, cool, tree can grow, destroy this world, we don't really care. We kick his ass, and Kratos stops the reactor. We walk back out of the dungeon and see that all the prisoners got saved. Hooray! Everyone's reunited, but oh no, Procystus isn't dead after all. He shoots Lloyd in the back, and some real good music plays. Then he tries to shoot Chocolat, but Colette jumps in the way and gets owned. Lloyd gets mad and stabs the heck out of him, and he fades away. We rush to Colette. She is unconscious, but has a weird blue mark all over her left arm. There's no time for that. We gotta send the message to Sheena to...
In HD, she has like... it's like circuitry cell.
Oh, I could still tell. I just didn't feel like explaining it. We tell we have to send a message to Sheena to fires the missiles. She says that she's tired. We tell her she can take a nap, but then fires the missiles. She summons all four Teethla spirits and fires the Christ out of the Manon at the tree. It obliterates it. So cool. That fixed that problem. That didn't last as long as I thought it was going to. Another great anime cutscene. Cut to Mythos and Tabitha and Altessa. Mythos awakes from being knocked out earlier. Nothing happens. We just see that he isn't dead. Back to the party. A communication device, a little walkie-talkie that Yuan left, tells us in Yuan's voice that the seed is back in the ground. We managed to save the Great Seed and the world. Kratos says, what about Martel? And Yuan says, yeah, Martel is still probably fused with the seed and is A-okay. So then, I guess I forgot to write this down, but we decide to go back to Iselia. Sam, can you remind me of why we decided to go back to Iselia?
Because Colette is unconscious from whatever green shit she has on her. And so we take her back home, and everyone's like, why should we do that? We're like, well, it's right there. And we're like, well, we can't go home.
Colette's home, that's right, yeah.
And it's like, but we're wanted. And it's like, yeah, but we just saved everybody from the ranch. I think we can probably negotiate to not be chased out of town. And apparently that works.
Yep. So this is actually the disc break, but we can't actually save yet, so we'll go a teeny bit more, basically. We go back to Iselia, and we talk with Colette's mom while Colette's upstairs, and we basically just explain stuff, and she says the people in the town will probably still hate Colette, and we're like, why? Don't lots of chosen fail? Why would they hate her just for failing? And she's like, well, yeah, but usually if you're chosen and you fail, you die. So like the fact that everything's all fucked up and it's her fault and she's still alive, it kind of makes her look bad. So we decide to let Colette rest upstairs and maybe not trouble her with our woes. Earlier she also had like a total freak out because she was ugly. And I'm like, bitch, you've been like dumb and like literally like dumb and no feeling, and you've been like turned into an inhuman monster, and you love to kick dogs. Like, why is having some blue shit on your arm gonna matter? Anyway, we decided to let her chill. We decided to go talk to the town. I judiciously managed to avoid triggering any cutscenes in the town, and I made a beeline to the safe point.
I can tell if we go 50 pixels past that save point, a cutscene will start, because there are some NPCs making some cutscene faces.
I noticed it was probably a cutscene trigger and was like, I'm going to go the other way. And then I found the save point and saved. That is the end of this week. Thank you for bearing with my lengthy story.
It is okay. Like,
now on this
the only place that it probably would have made sense to cut was literally one dungeon ago, which would have made it still an hour and 20-minute episode. Like, there's no way around it.
Whatever, we killed it. All right,
we killed it. Let's listen to something and talk about a something. Go first because I just have two small ones this week. So when you save Gnome or make the pact with a Gnome, every time that Sheena has made a pact, she's like, thou must annulst thy pact with Mythos and formeth a pact with me. And everyone's always like cool with that. But since Gnome is obviously in Japanese, he's speaking with a Kansai dialect. Like, you can tell that's what's going on. He's like, "LOL, why are you talking like that? Like, just talk normally. Like, we're just bros. Whatever. I'll make a pact with you. What's this thee thou bullshit?" And it's great.
I love him.
Yeah, he's really good.
So much.
My other quick one is the voice acting for Shadow is really good. Like, creepy shadow monster voice acting, like, it's exactly what he's doing here, but it's like effective.
It's very well done.
It's effective in a way that this trope usually is not, where it's really whispery and creepy, and it's like, oh, cool, whatever, shadow monster's creepy, but it's like, no, like, I kind of like got chills, and he only says like one word of the sentence, like, to do the whole pact everything. He's just like, pact Mythos, pact you, fight. And I was like, cool, that's great, let's do that. And I really loved that scene.
Yeah, he's dope.
What about you, Eli?
Let's see. I made some notes. So I noticed during one of the cutscenes, it's definitely Perseia's voice saying, Alicia, what do you mean? But it has Lloyd as the one saying it in the caption.
Oh, rip.
Which is very weird.
Let's just mess that one up.
Yeah. So there's a skit called For Lazy People when you go back into the Tower of Mana. And Lloyd bitches about how you have to walk through. Yeah, it is the Tower. He bitches about how you have to walk through the Tower of Mana again because like someone's like, oh, all the doors are already open, and they're like, yeah, we've been here before. And Lloyd's like, well, why can't they? Or they should have just given us a quick jump feature. And everybody else is like, what? What do you mean? What are you talking about?
That's
and
funny.
I'm just like, oh, I love me some fourth wall breaks.
Normally, I don't like this kind of jokes. But that's good. I'll allow it.
Yeah. And when Mr. Forceps says it is a world of mana, I thought of the line from Twin Peaks. It's a world of truck drivers.
It's a world of truck drivers. That's true.
So that's what I got.
Nice. I've got just a couple. At one point, I honestly don't remember when, probably when Procystus says something like, I'm going to purge the world of you pathetic humans. Rain says, what needs to be purged are the contents of your pathetic brain, which is pretty good. Also, when we're talking about the Linklight tree and how we need to rebuild the flute, and Lloyd is like, well, I know how to build stuff out of wood, so as long as the revived Linklight tree has big nuts on it, I can make a flute. I'm 12 and thought that was funny. When you go to the church, beautiful church, by the way, in Icicle Town, the priest outside the church says a line that I just really liked. He says, no matter what the circumstance is, salvation can always be found. If your heart is troubled, confess at the church. And I'm like, that's right. Also in Icicle Town, there is, in fact, an ice sculpture of Pac-Man. It is actually labeled as Pac-Man. That it says Pac-Man in the game, the words Pac-Man. And what is that? No, I'm not going to skip. I don't care about that. Oh, okay. One more, I guess. There's some more that I'm just going to skip because it would take too long to explain the context. When we go to the dungeon with the moles and they're all the gnomes and how they're all annoying. At one point, one of them is being a big asshole, and someone says something like, "Oh, it reminds me of Zelos." And Zelos is like, hey, I'm not like that. And then he's kind of fishing for someone to be like, no, we're just kidding. You're not like that. But then no one does. And he's sad. And then Perseia turns around and says, like, the most backhanded, condescending compliment ever, which is she goes, Zelos, I think that you and that small child are different. And he's like, aw, thanks. For saying that I'm not literally exactly the same as a small child. But like he doesn't realize, like he takes the compliment and thinks that it's very sweet. And then if I recall, another party member chastises Perseia and is like, you could have just said you don't always have to compliment him. You can just let him feel like shit. He kind of sucks. You don't have to make him feel better. Which I thought was cute as well. Yeah. That is all that I've got for this week.
I did just remember one more that I love because I hate Zelos in like a loving sort of way. He's a great, horrible character. But in the Darkness Temple, there's a skit where Zelos and Lloyd are talking, and Zelos is like, "Man, it sucks that like we're done here because the darkness is the best." And Lloyd's like, "Why is darkness is the best?" He's like, "Because you can do whatever you want to girls in the darkness. They can't stop. They can't stop you." And I'm like, "This is really, really gross." And Lloyd is like, "Hey, Sheena," and she's like, "What?" He's like, "Zelos just admitted that he was the one that was grabbing your ass all dungeon." And it's just scene, and I'm like, "That's okay." I'm glad that Lloyd got Zelos's comeuppance because it's good. But yeah, that will do it for the week. If you liked what you heard and you want to help us keep the lights on, you can head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where you can have the swing vote in the best of the rest.
That's right. For once in your life, you get to feel the excitement of living in Michigan, or Florida,
because right now Final Fantasy X-2 has 14 points, and remember it's golf, so lowest points wins. And Anachronox is barely winning with 13 points. So if a bunch of people vote, it could be anyone's game. But if there's only one or two of you left, which there probably is, if you want us to vote for if you want us to play Final Fantasy X, vote for that number one and Anachronox last, and you will make that happen, and vice versa.
Yeah. If you put Final Fantasy is the one that's behind, right?
Yes.
If you put Final Fantasy as 1 and Anachronox as 2, they will be tied. So don't do that. So you got to put at least 2. You got to put a gap there. 1 and 3. Okay, is what you're going to want to do there.
Mm-hmm. But
please don't rank them 1 and 2 for the love of Christ.
Yes, don't do it, because then we'll have to do some sort. Then we'll have to do some sort of fucking tiebreaker, which will probably just be calling up somebody that we know and being like, flip a coin. But so you can go out and vote and break that tie, and then since you'll have donated to make that vote, you then can check out our Ko-Fi exclusive podcast, Book Club no Kuseki, and I think we have 2 episodes, because we moved to bi-weekly, so it used to be 4 episodes, now it's just 2, so you'll have 2 extra ones in the bag that you can access that no one else gets to. So if you like that, do that. Otherwise, let's stop talking. For RPG Book Club, I have been... I should tell us where we're stopping.
Where we're stopping, lads.
Okay, so disc 2, part 1 is... I believe this is the big important doctor scene in Flanoir. Let me double check. That's so annoying. So the guide has it broke down like 5.7, 5.7.14, but that's not searchable. He doesn't use that in the fucking thing, so I couldn't control F. But in Flanoir, we will there will be a scene at the doctor's office, and since this is where we're stopping, I will let you know this scene that we stop at the doctor's office dictates your ending of the game. So back up your save if you want to. This is the big one. We're going to have that big one, and then I will spoil it when we get into the thing of which ending we all ended up on, and you can go back and reload your save and change it if you want to.
You got it.
But for RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
And I'm Maddy Grace Spiffle Wevin.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.